Welcome back to the ABL review. This time we've got Season 18, Week 3 for the East Division. We're almost at that halfway point of the season. Very short season, so these games are becoming more and more meaningful, and kind of the structure of the league is starting to take shape. Without further ado, let's hop into our first match. Whoops. Ignore that. Let's reset. Oh god, I gotta reset all these, sorry. The spoilers for if you haven't seen any of the stuff. Okay, so, we've got Tyler taking on Brett in this match. Brett's been off to a pretty hot start. Tyler off to his usual, he's chaotic, but unsuccessful. But he's been competitive in these matches. I don't think there's been one of these matches where it's just like, Tyler's absolutely floundering. I do think that's mostly because he's being very offensive with stuff. He's attacking a lot, so he is getting KOs where some other teams have had less success with going with kind of a bulky stall-out strategy. But let's not get into that here. So, let's start off. We've got Wo-Chen lead versus Sandy Shocks. Bad for Sandy Shocks. It can't really do much of anything here. Gonna go ahead and hard switch into Garganackle. Garg hasn't really had that much of he hasn't had a breakout game since week 1. He's been kind of slow paced, just chipping stuff down. With Salt Cure, hasn't really gotten a lot going for him. But this Frostmoth has a prime opportunity to set up in front of this Wo-Chen here as Magnezone comes out. Brett very quickly reveals that he planned for this. This is Terra Ground Venomoth, Easy Oko. There's a chance that could have been what's the word? Sturdy, potentially? But, paid off there. And also, even if it hadn't been, unless it was Mirror Coat Magnezone, it really wasn't going to do much of this Frostmoth with, a Flash Cannon or something. So let's hop into it here. Obviously, the Frostmoth has to leave. Brambleghast is going to come in and take a lot of damage and get a defense drop from this spot. So it did 60%. An Aqua Jet's going to do about half of that, maybe a little bit less. Let's say 25%. But because of the defense drop, it's going to do more than that. So Brett calced, and he knew that this Brambleghast could definitely feint to a Life Orb, huge power Aqua Jet from Azumarill. So I think he made a savvy play and went out into a Roaring Moon. It can live this. The only thing he couldn't have come up with was that he was going to go for Play Rough on this turn. Play Rough is... No, look, this is one of the reasons why playing Tyler is so dangerous, because he doesn't usually make, the optimal play. He's just going to kind of make whatever play is kind of close to being okay. Play Rough's a suboptimal click versus Brambleghast, because even if you just clicked Liquidation again, if you'd stayed in and Terra Fairy'd to avoid the super effective hit, I'm on board with that, then gone for Liquidation, it KOs Brambleghast from the range it was at. So that play is also covered by Roaring Moon. The Aqua Jet also covered by going into Roaring Moon. The two most logical plays Roaring Moon takes care of. Tyler went for secret option number 3, which is go for a move that can miss Brambleghast, and won't do any more damage, and he manages to hit the Roaring Moon. So, I obviously not an optimal play, but big time worked out here. It's really a tier 3 play, but he came out on top. So, at the end of the day, you can't really knock him for it. I am going to knock him. I don't like Life Orb Azumarill, other than its tendency to put itself in range for the potential of us hearing the jingle. That's really the only thing I think it has going for it. Azumarill's going to manage to eat that power up, hit the Play Rough that he was going for the turn before. Just barely out of range of being able to die to a Life Orb hit here. Play Rough is going to get the KO from the Screamtail. Not something you'd really see happen that often. This Screamtail is really in no danger from this Lycanroc, especially after it goes for Encore here, locking Lycanroc into that, which is going to give Brett, free reign to do whatever he wants. Fascinating that he decided that was going to be to stay in and Swords Dance. Went into Wo-Chien. He switched this out earlier against this Frosmoth. To hard come in on it, I don't think makes a ton of sense unless you think he's going to get super greedy and set up a whole bunch and you're going to crit it on a Giga Drain. So Wo-Chien goes down there. Gallade comes out absolutely shouting, "Hey, I'm wearing a Choice Scarf. Don't mind me." Screamtail's easily going to be able to take any hit from that thing. Screamtail honestly is not really bothered by anything left on this team bar the Skeledirge, and there's ways for Brett to deal with that, namely Garganacl. Now this thing's Encored into Stone Edge, only has a couple of those, and that's not going to do a lot of damage, but it doesn't matter. Sandy Shocks is here. Even if it had been hit by that Stone Edge, not going to do a lot of damage. This Scarf Sandy Shocks is able to clean up the remainder of this team. Brett comes away with a big 4-0 win. Well done, Brett. It was said by someone... Oh, actually, that's not Scarf. Interesting. He must have determined that that wasn't a Scarf Gallade after the Aqua Cutter. Nah, it doesn't matter. Must have determined it was Bandit or something else. I don't know. But anyways. Brett comes away with another win here. It was said by somebody else recently, like, man, Roaring Moon's not really making much of an impact. I don't think that Roaring Moon having not hit the field in the first battle and Brett coming away with the win, I don't even think it hit the field in the second battle. Or maybe he just sacked it to get something else in free. And then this time, kind of a wild play that Roaring Moon didn't get in. That doesn't mean to me Roaring Moon is bad. Brett's been able to win with the other things he has in pretty positive matchups for himself. So I'm gonna say, obviously, I think jury's still out on Roaring Moon. Let's see where things take us. Because we got a whole other league and it's getting some data over there. Obviously, the East isn't showing off what Roaring Moon can do just yet, but there's still 4 games left, and at the rate Brett's going, he's going to have a postseason. Even with 3 wins, because of the way things are set up, he's going to have a chance. He's going to have at least an 8th game this season. So there's that. Moving on, we've got Zach taking on Connor. Obviously some controversy at the end of this game, but let's get to it. Oh, normal speed. Sorry, guys. So Ditto comes up first, gets up we got the Stealth Rock going up. The transformed Ditto yawns. Maybe he's Scarf Ditto this time. I'm not sure. But it's interesting. But we see that this Baxcalibur's not heavy duty boots, which I think is pretty important to note, especially when that Earthquake comes out, because Zeng now knows he's got a free turn, and he's going to take that opportunity to set up the Sticky Web. Wait, jeez, okay, wait, it's not heavy duty boots. I'm sorry, guys, I'm messing up here. That's very embarrassing. I did just watch this battle on hyperspeed before we started this, and I missed that. But usually when you don't see heavy duty boots, you see choice item on Baxcalibur. Glaive Rush not able to get the KO. Granted, it was at -1 attack. Glaive Rush is gonna, but now this Baxcalibur is kind of in a dangerous spot because it's -2 attack. Glaive Rush means it's going to take double damage from whatever tries to attack it. So this Baxcalibur probably can't stand this. It's probably a potential like setup opportunity, but he doesn't take it there. He's just gonna try to get off as much damage as he can. Hits the Swirl Edge with the first impression. Knackle Stack's gonna come in. And just get absolutely obliterated by this close combat. Don't know what's supposed to happen there, Zhang. Probably just like, I don't need this. Hopefully he doesn't have close combat. This presumably, I think, might be Ditto trying to rapid spin away these hazards, which I gotta say, I think is a good attempt by Connor here. He doesn't have another hazard clearer, so if he can copy Zhang's hazard clearer, that's pretty good. My guess, though, actually, yeah, it's about to be confirmed, though, is that this Ditto doesn't actually have Rapid Spin, but also he should have known that before, right? So never mind. I don't know what this is about. I guess your check for Ditto being Torkoal is not great. Ditto's gonna go down here. I think we see a Lava Plume come out from this in a second. Yeah, this Baxcalibur's getting chipped down very hard. Great Tusk is going to take very little damage from this Terra Ground. Okay, so some people might be wondering why he went for a Terra Dragon. And granted, I know a lot of you do know exactly why he went for a Terra Dragon. This isn't for you, so you can just go play Minesweeper in another browser or something for a second. Goes for the Terra Dragon into an Earthquake, so he's not getting boosted on the Earthquake, obviously. The important part here is he's gone from a neutrality to fire, which he was afraid that this Torkoal was gonna go for a fire move, like Lava Plume. Instead, now he's resistant to fire, and he can potentially get the attack boost from the Thermal Exchange ability. So, moving on from there. Headlong Rush is obviously able to KO it from this range. It's got the Photosynthesis boost, is already at half health. Obviously, it was going to happen. Miss Maggie's going to come in, not really threatened. You know, covers both the ground weakness and the ground stab and fighting stab, both covered by Miss Maggie's abilities. Interesting that Slitherwing comes out because, like, I think if Miss Magius is here, you're probably, like, maybe Energy Ball's on your mind, but I'd be more thinking Mystical Fire or Will-O-Wisp at that state. But the trick comes out, so that's pretty cool. Not really, also not ideal for Miss Magius, but at least the Slitherwing doesn't have a choice band now. He also knows it's locked into first impression, so anything coming out's pretty safe. Gets absolutely right on this Sucker Punch here. If the Ceruledge had close combated, and I guess if he hadn't already used his what's the word? Terrestrialization on Baxcalibur, maybe this Ceruledge could have, like, it could have taken it back. Like, if it had Terra'd, what do I see a lot of? I see a lot of Terra Bug. I see a lot of Terra Fighting. Like, Terra Fighting would have been very good versus the remainder of this team if it had gotten up a bulk up or two. But, you know, we'll never know. Terra Bug would have been particularly good. So, and then this Miss Magius is going to come in. Has to kind of go for a trick here, but it doesn't. That time it goes for the Mystical Fire. Weird plays by Connor here. He definitely could have made better choices. And now he goes into Glalie, and this is where the match kind of gets out of, like, because, you know, this thing's locked into first impression. That's a free turn for Connor here. Gets caught in the sticky web. And we see him go for Substitute, which makes a lot of sense. But then we see Moody pop. Okay. Moody, 100% banned. We've been over this. It's specific. I feel like Connor has drafted. I'm sure it was somebody. I know somebody drafted Glalie before. Pretty sure it was Connor. And I feel like we've had this discussion before. So I'm going to reiterate it for everybody because I know, what, do two teams have Scovillain? I think two teams have Scovillain. So I'm just going to say it. Moody is banned. Can't use Moody. I think I gave the option in the chat here. Yeah, that Zeng could either just stop here and take a, I'd say 4-1 win. Like, I don't really do that too often where, you know, but like, Meowscarada never hit the field. Like, Zeng's winning from this position regardless. But, you know, I'd probably just call the match here. Glalie is disqualified, so it'd be 4-1. That's how I would personally rule it if Zeng just wanted to take the win from there. Or I would just be able to let him play it out. Zeng's choice. And they chose to let it play it out, and Connor was just going to keep clicking Substitute, wasn't allowed to do anything with this Glalie. Which, to be fair, I don't think anything was going to happen from this Glalie. Like, he could have potentially gone, like, Sub, Protect, Disable, Earthquake, or Freeze Dry. I guess Freeze Dry would have given him a chance to come back through this game. I don't know what his whole set was. But Glalie's going to faint here to the Torkoal. And then we're going to see the Meowscarada come out and also going to faint to this Torkoal. So, Torkoal, big precedent to this. Obviously kind of a letdown how it ended, but also Glalie wasn't going to be able to bring it back. You know, just familiarize yourself with the rulebook, everybody, because, you know, and look, I'm not going to give too much shame to Connor here, because I feel like we've moved past that as a society, not to Moody shame people. But yeah, this is a big one. It's been addressed before. I don't remember what the precedent is, but yeah, don't let it happen. But Zeng comes away with a well-earned 4-0 win here, despite basically being able to take a free win a little bit sooner. Moving on. We've got the Texarkana Toxics taking on the New England Patch Rats. You know, Texarkana, along with our last team there, made a bunch of big news because they made a bunch of big changes, which we'll get to in a little bit. So, what do we want to say from team preview here? I mean, I'll come out and say something that's going to be a big spoiler for the rest of this off the top. The only Pokemon on Papkin's team here that can hit the Toxapex for super effective damage is the Donphan. Quaquaval is totally walled by it. Hydreigon would have to, like, probably get up 2 nasty plots, and then Life Orb Draco might kill. Charizard, unless it's running like a Belly Drum Earthquake set, not getting through it. Golden Go needs like a couple of nasty plots and some Spadef drops. And then Glamora obviously can't do it. So, need to protect Donphan at all costs. Oh, jeez. Okay. And Toxic Spikes go up along with the Stealth Rocks. Not a huge deal because, like, they both have poison. Like, there's poison type over here, just be able to soak up the Stealth Rocks. Garchomp's gonna go ahead and set up in this thing's face. Obviously, oh wow. I'm guessing it had to have been, what's it called? Focus Sash. You're just gonna be able to get up the Toxic Spikes. Not that that matters at all, because Toxapex's just gonna soak him up anyways. I don't think that was really worth it for him to go ahead and stay in with that. But then he goes into Donphan. Now this should be like, that should be an Ice Shard, right? But we've seen Earthquake come out. Not a good sign. Like, really not a good sign that was, because I'm like not even totally convinced that Garchomp's gonna get KO'd by that Earthquake, unless this is like very offensive Donphan, which to be honest, it probably should be, seeing as how this Toxapex is around. Hazards get cleared out right away. Knockoff, kind of nice because, you know, want to get rid of those heavy-duty boots, but also you're risking that Flame Body. Talonflames don't typically run Gale Wings anymore. Very few of them do, so expect Flame Body. And now Donphan's burned, and we are on turn 8, and there is now no way to kill this Toxapex realistically. Outside of the boosting options I mentioned earlier. So we're going to speed up this battle a little bit, because Jabron realizes that right away, and he's just going to go ahead and have this Toxapex sit here. Big, you know, starting off with the chip damage to Donphan. Now Toxic Spikes go up, kind of a waste of time because Donphan's burned. You got 2 things off the ground. That's a steel type, and then Quaquaval is the only thing that can get poisoned. Which, to be fair, comes into play. But just kind of a waste of time. You probably could have just kept firing off liquidations and been okay with everything. It's you know, I don't have a lot to say here because there's, you know, oh, good as gold. You can't use all status moves. Don't work on Golden Go. Can't taunt it. Can't encore it. Can't roar it. If you wanted to use Embargo, don't know if that move is still in the game. Can't use that either. Gotta learn the abilities. It's gonna take a while on these new guys, but you know, we'll get there. Golden Go has kind of a nice matchup. You know, gets the crit there. That's nice. Doing a lot of damage to this Passimian. Like, you do see Jabron start to panic a little bit because he's like, because that also shows off that Passimian probably not choice scarfed. Actually, wait, it was faster too. Okay, so that was choice scarf Passimian, or this is at very least modest Golden Go. So it could have stayed in and knocked out the Golden Go. Yeah, just so that way people, because you know what, this is something I assume a lot of people know, but let's just go over it real quick. So when both Pokemon switch out on the same turn, the Pokemon that is faster switches out first. So Passimian was in against Golden Go. Passimian switched out first. That means the Passimian is faster. You can see on Showdown, you hover over Passimian. If he's running max speed, which personally I always assume my opponents are running max speed until proven otherwise, which might be something that we're going to talk about over in the West. This Passimian maxes out at 284. And the Golden Go maxes out at 293. So, assuming both of them are Timid in the case of Golden Go, max speed, and Jolly, max speed on Passimian, the Golden should theoretically outspeed the Pissimian. That didn't happen here, since Pissimian outsped, so that's either Choice Scarf or this is lower speed Golden That's information that Papcoon knows for sure. And honestly, probably Jabron could know for sure if he knows he's Choice Scarfed. So, that lesson's over. Let's move on with the rest of the battle, which isn't much of anything going on, because this Toxapex can't die. If he really wanted to, anytime Toxapex gets low, he doesn't even need to, like, conserve recovers at this point. That's his first one that he just used, because all he has to do is switch to get Toxapex back healthy. As long as he's got Pokemon left. And Hydreigon also gets walled by this Florges. This Hydreigon does not have a good matchup here. It's a rough time. I don't think Papcoon plays badly. I do want to say that. I don't think there's anything wrong with his play. It's just he lost at Team Preview, which, you know, is something that people don't, like, I don't know, it happens. It's not a fun thing when it happens, but I just don't think there was a way that he could have come out of this one, since he had limited ways to deal with Toxapex right out the gate, and then he didn't protect that one thing he could have done, so we're out. I don't know, that's, and also it's weird that he had he went Terra Steel and he didn't have a move to hit this Florges. He just had to Flamethrower through it, which I don't think is a good strategy. But yeah, that's the end of this battle. Jabron comes away with another win. It's hard for, like, brand new players to come in and have success, and Jabron's having it. Well done. I'm really impressed. But I guess that's going to take us to our marquee match of the week.
Marquee match of the week. Now we have a theme.
Our marquee match of the week here is one that happened really late in the evening. Well, not really late in the evening. It was one of the last ones to go up. And you know what? We have another Donphan-like Pokemon getting burned pretty early in the game. Not that I feel like Curtis really hasn't been using Iron Treads particularly offensively, which I think is fine. I don't really think it's best utilized offensively. This is like a Rapid Spinner getting pivots and, like, getting off some damage and knockoff and Stealth Rocks. Like, I think that's where it really excels. He'd like to have the option to use it offensively, but he doesn't even need to. So we got a Volt Switch out into Salamence. Isn't going to take too much damage from anything this Rotom can do. So you got a nice safe Volt Switch from Rotom into Avalugg. So Avalugg being your spinner and taking the hazard damage, suboptimal, obviously, and I do think, I'm curious if Logan calced, because after seeing Roost plus Intimidate on Salamence, I think, for me, I might be thinking, and also if this Air Slash did max HP damage, like if you can't tell if you can tell that this Salamence has HP investment, I'm not liking this switch to Avalugg here, because then that means this is defensive Salamence, which do carry Flamethrower. Didn't even need a Terra there, but nice and safe to do so. Iron Moth comes out. This is nice for him because he knows even if this is max speed Salamence, he can outspeed him. Sludge Wave's going to do a pretty good amount, so he's going to be able to force him out there. Into this. Does this outspeed? Typically it does, and we know we know that it's not a Scarf, so we can probably see a Flamethrower unless, you know, Logan knows the calcs. A Fiery Dance comes out. If you got the boost on Fiery Dance, this is pretty scary, because this Energy Ball comes out. I think he said that after that Protect, it made Energy Ball a roll to KO this Rotom, and he didn't want to risk it, so he's going to lose that Booster Energy boost. Going into Sylveon. That Thunder Wave is unfortunate, but of the remaining things, I think Sylveon getting Thunder Waved is probably the right call. As unfortunate as it is, I think it's probably okay. It's a shame that the Rotoms don't have Defog anymore. Pretty unfortunate. Pretty good damage on the Paldean and Tauros there. That's good for him. Iron Moth comes in. Energy Ball, I have to imagine that was so close. Like, really. So, gets the KO there with Iron Moth. Obviously, we know that this Rotom is safe from KO range here. Ariama's going to come out. knocks off the Drifblim all the way down to its sash, and we do see the Bullet Punch come out. Do we see aftermath damage? No, so that was unburdened Drifblim. I feel like watching it in real time took forever for Logan to click Bullet Punch there. I think we were all like, oh boy. But, I mean, let's look at the state of the game here. We've got a burned Iron Treads, not a huge threat, particularly to anything that's left. Bar, potentially, the Iron Ball. This Salamence also isn't really much of a threat to the remaining Pokemon, maybe save for maybe this Corviknight. Rotom is probably one of the bigger issues for the remaining Pokemon. It can KO the Iron Moth from where it's at. Logan has yet to Terra. So maybe, but the Iron Moth has these, the hazards are up, his spinner's gone. Maybe Corviknight has Defog, but this Iron Moth is on borrowed time because of those, because of the rocks being up. Logan has to get rid of this muck, because this muck is gonna be a big thing that stops the rest of his mons. Curtis goes for Body Slam, obviously fishing for paralysis there. Logan's going to take this opportunity, or maybe his other move is just Poison Jab. That could be it too. But he does get the paralysis. Rough para there. Not safe for Logan to stay in. He's going to go into Hariyama, get Volt switched on, and in comes the Muck. He's obviously going to fish for paralysis again. Now this Hariyama's job is just to get this Muck as low as he can go. I'm surprised Drain Punch is like the thing that does the most damage there. Well, I guess it also keeps him just a little bit healthy. So, this Fiery Dance, I mean, we'll see. Like, right here, if Logan gets the special attack boost from Fiery Dance, he probably wins. Because a +1 from the Fiery Dance is going to be stronger than the booster energy. Probably going to put that Rotom into KO range. Logan can still win here if he gets a boost from Fiery Dance, but that is... I'm fascinated to know what that roll would be. Living on 1%, possibly even 1 HP. That's unfortunate for Logan, because he didn't get the boost, but he can still bring in Iron Moth later if he wants to, and try to do all that again after things are a little bit more weakened. But the Body Slam comes out and KOs the Iron Moth. Now, Logan still is in an okay position, like, because he's gonna get the KO. Oh, he actually goes into Iron Treads, which is kind of weird. I don't know why you would go into Iron Treads there, because Rotom's Volt switches aren't going to do a ton to this Corviknight, because since it's bulk up, it's probably also especially defensive, and he hasn't burned any roosts yet. And honestly, paralysis kind of helps him a little bit in the sense that, like, especially if he gets into a roost off with this Salamence, there's going to be turns where he's not clicking a move, which might actually be beneficial. It's debatable. So it's weird that he went into that. You see how little this Volt Switch does. Into the Salamence, so obviously we're going to see a Flamethrower come out here. Second, there it is. Pretty good damage. Iron Head, that also does a pretty good chunk of damage. So if this Corviknight wasn't paralyzed and didn't have all the other things going against it, but Sylveon's in. This, I think, against the remaining 4 Pokemon, has an even better setup. It's paralyzed, so it can't get toxicked by Muck. That's good. It's probably pretty defensive, so a Poison Jab from Muck is going to do some damage, but that's the biggest damage dealer on the team. So, Sylveon, I said this in the chat too, as long as it doesn't get absolutely fucked with paras, Sylveon can bring this back. Season 1 MVP, we've seen what Sylveon can do. It can absolutely clutch this, potentially. The Roost there gives it an opportunity. So he's got the one Calm Mind up, got a little bit back. The fact that he's got to go for Hurricane, that's even better for Sylveon. Chances to miss, and yeah, so we see another Calm Mind up. He's already at +3. Personally here, I don't think he needs many more boosts. I think he can just start firing off Hyper Voices and Wishes when he needs to be healthy. So Poison Jab, lots of damage, gets the Hyper Voice. So that obviously did more than he wanted it to do. It's not looking good. Hydro Pump probably won't KO, so like if Iron Treads has Earthquake, or actually Who knows if Earthquake will KO even? Let's see, because this is a burned Iron Treads. But the fact that Rotom came in, yeah. He said, why did I click this? So not a misclick, just a bad decision, because Rotom can't KO that. That means he can put a Wish in the air. Okay, I should slow this down just a little bit. Wish goes up. So he's just got to get a Protect here. And he should be okay. Full Parrot on the Protect. That should be a death sentence. But the Earthquake doesn't KO, only does 23%. So he's going to catch this Wish, go back. This is huge. The fact that that only did 23% means he can keep loading Wishes up, fire, like alternate turns of Hyper Voice Wish. And this Sylveon's got this in the bag. So he's in a great spot here. So Earthquake comes out. Wish goes up. Perfect. Okay, the script is going beautifully. Goes for a Protect. I don't think he needed to do that. I think that was a waste of time, because a +3 Hyper Voice is going to do pretty good damage. Like, I think it'll probably do like 30% maybe. I think you can beat this Iron Treads out over time. You didn't need to Protect there. I guess he's just being extra secure, because even a crit doesn't KO. Like, the only time you're really messed up there is if you get crit full parried. So maybe this is just some extra precaution, but I think you gotta take some chances in this. Breaks through right there, so now we should start seeing Hyper Voices come off. You don't even need to load up a Wish here. Another Earthquake comes out, full parried. Unfortunate, but bound to happen. Okay, and he's still in a good spot. Another Earthquake comes out. Calm Mind, don't like it. Waste of time, you didn't need more. You really didn't. Didn't need to do that, but you know, now's the time you probably want to load up a Wish in case you get some bad paras. But unfortunately, Sylveon's not going to get the chance to do anything else for the remainder of this battle. It's going to get parried here again. That's two. That's another para. It can still live one here, so if it gets off, no, another para. It's over. Now he would need to get like 3 or 4 Wishes in a row. Really sucks that it ended that way, because I think both players played well. Like, Curtis did a really good job with Terrestrialization, kind of getting the element of surprise. Granted, he didn't really need a Terra Fairy, but I do think it made the matchup a little bit easier for him down the line. It's just, and then obviously the Thunder Waves going off, as sucky as they were to see full paras, it's not fun to see battles end that way. Ended up being very crucial, and even through some mistakes, he had himself in good enough endgame. But he did need a lot of help. I think he needed all 3 of those paras in a row, or else he was going to lose this battle. Because he only had 6 Earthquakes left. Like, there was a point where if Sylveon didn't KO this Iron Treads quickly, could have just gone ahead and kept Calm Minding up if he wanted to. Tough to see it go down that way, but Curtis comes away with a win. And I think, you know, he earned it. You know, sometimes, you know, it's not all about making the best. He made the best plays for him, and it put him in a position to win. Sometimes you need some luck, not a big deal. But that wraps up the battles for that. Let's head over to the MVP tab. Salamence, I think got 3 KOs this week. It's tied with a couple of things that got 3 KOs, but because back in week 1 it was co-MVP, it's not on the little marker here. We'll give it the edge this week. So MVP Salamence, also your season KO leader. In addition to the 6 KOs it got in week 1, it got 3 more this week, edging ahead of Garganacl. While Garganacl's teammate Sandy Shocks comes up right behind it with 6. Espeon also with that good week 1 showing, still holding on strong. Great Tusk having a pretty consistent season. Meowscarada, Azumarill, Dougie, Florges, Passimian, all up there doing well. I put season death leaders on here. Obviously, I think there's even one more. There's an 11th Pokemon that has 3 faints. It's there. A lot of these Pokemon are from the Oakland Galators. Let's see, that's 1. Actually, maybe not as many as I thought. 2. Only 2 of them? 3. Yeah. At least he's given some variety there. But yeah, Death Leaders is never particularly interesting until the very end of the season. Even at the very end of the season, considering this is a shortened season, probably not going to be that illuminating. Still only have the 1 Life Orb KO. But let's head over to the rosters, because I haven't really been covering transactions much. There haven't been that many. But let's talk about them, because we've got a lot of changes in both divisions. So, blockbuster trade. We got Minnesota, who acquired Glamora and sent Great Tusk, their leading KO getter, over to Texarkana. Pretty big. I was talking to somebody about it. Like, it's surprising that, like, I guess not surprising that Roaring Moon went first in both drafts, but to see Great Tusk go second in both drafts, I think is pretty telling of people's assumptions of its quality. I'm like, Zhang trading it away, I think, is pretty interesting, seeing as how I think Sun's a big part of what he's doing, and Great Tusk is so splashable, along with Torkoal, honestly. They're a good pair, so I'm surprised to see him send it away. The other thing I'm surprised about is he booted Slitherwing to take Dragapult. Obviously a big change in mindset in Minnesota. Maybe because this is a much more like balanced team. You have hazards going up, you have your revenge killer, and then you have your offensive threats. I think he's pivoted away from the wacky weather wizard, and he's like, okay, I want a weather aspect to a balanced team, which I like. I mean, it's not as fun, so it's a little less fun to talk about on this podcast, but you know, I think success is even more fun to be had than wins, or than just you know what I mean. It's fun to have fun, but success is also fun in a different way, in a more satisfying way. But Papcoon, after acquiring Great Tusk, obviously had to make some changes, because that is a gold tier for a platinum tier, so he had to make room in cap space. Brett, if you want to make this look pretty, I didn't really know how you had gone about doing that, so I'm going to pass the buck to you. So there. So what we got him dropping Donphan, picking up Spidops. Spidops is not a good Pokemon, but I think people look at a Pokemon who looks like Spidops and want something other than what it's offering. What Spidops is offering is you can have hazards, like you can go ahead and set up hazards, and then also you're not a Spidops doesn't really lose to like anti-lead Pokemon very much. Like pretty famous anti-lead, well, like what you'd look for in an anti-lead set is like maybe Fake Out, Taunt, and to stop hazards from going up. That's kind of an outdated mindset because of like how Team Preview changed things, because before you'd be like, here's my lead Pokemon, that way they don't know what's in the back, I can kind of set the stage, maybe scout a little bit. Spidops doesn't really suffer from a lot of the issues that a lot of leads have, because the fact that it's able to circle throw out, it's not like passive where stuff can set up on it. It also has memento, so that way it can get out if it needs to. I think this thing would really appreciate Custat Berry being around. I think Spidops does have some value, particularly in terms of setting hazards, and you know, it can set up hazards pretty well. Spikes, Sticky Web, and Stealth Rocks, and Golden Go is still there to keep them up if he wants. Then we had Hydreigon moving out of the way for Greninja. Obviously wanted a faster special attacking Dark type. Also has 2 sets of hazards. I have this messed up. This Quavel should be Rotom-M. My bad. So I'm sure people have looked at that for a day or two and been like, that's weird, but there we go. Sorry about that. I have all this right? Right. Okay. He's got a lot of Toxic Spikers on this team, because he also added Quillfish, which is kind of a decent defensive option. I like a lot of the utility Quillfish also adds. Papkin's got a lot more tools on this team. He doesn't have a ton of like... He's a little bit lacking for offense, but Great Tusk can obviously fill that role. Golden Go can fill that role. Greninja, if you put the right moves on it, can definitely fill that role. So I'm interested to see where Papcoon goes moving forward. Big changes, and he's still got 1 transaction in the bank if he starts to make that deep playoff push and wants to make some changes. And then, oh yeah, drop Doxbun. We talked about that. And then a little less impactful, but the Alabama Crimson Hive drop Leafeon and pick up Lurantis. This solely seems to be a I want defog. Like, that's what this yells to me. You obviously didn't have, like, Leafeon, you pretty much just had here as the grass type, and Lurantis can be a grass type, maybe even a little bit better, since I think on the whole it's a little bit bulkier. It's not passive by any means, because Leaf Storm is strong, and Contrary makes it stronger. And then also, you get hazard clearing, so isn't that nice? Hopping over to the standings, Brett continues to extend his lead. So just a reminder for people how we're doing playoffs is it's going to be the top 2 teams automatically go to playoffs. The bottom 2 teams automatically miss playoffs. And then we're kind of going to have play-in options. So the 3 and the 4 seed are going to play each other. Winner goes to playoffs. Loser is going to go to what I'm calling a last chance game. 5 and 6 are going to play each other. Loser misses playoffs. Winner goes to that last chance game. Winner of that game goes to playoffs. So that's a 2-week process, I think. Yeah, that's a 2-week process, and that means we'll have these 2 teams. Oh, by the way, not necessarily these 2 teams. But the 1 and 2 are already going to be in playoffs, and then theoretically the 3 would be in playoffs, and then probably the 4, but maybe the 5 or the 6. Like, it's all. So we'd have 4 teams in playoffs there. They're going to do 2 weeks of that, and you're going to have your East champion, and then the West is going to be doing the same thing, and then you'll have your West champion and they'll play in a Grand Championship. Also, the 4 teams that do make it to playoffs will be in the ABL North next season. The 4 teams that miss playoffs will be in the ABL South. That's how that's going to go. Hopefully we have enough people come back to actually do that, but that's where everything's trending. Let's take a look what we got next week. We've got Curtis taking on Zhang. Those 2 always have a fun matchup. Looking forward to that. Texarkana Toxics taking on the Seattle Marinis. Ooh. We'll see how the... It's funny because it was the Seattle Shuffle for a long time. And the Texarkana 2-step. It was 4 steps, though, 5 steps that he made with his team between the trades and transactions. We'll see how that helps him over there in Seattle. New England versus Oakland. Isn't that fun? They're both NFL teams. That doesn't always happen. I guess these are, that's a T-Wolves. It's, not necessarily the same league. Or, same sport. Alabama Crimson Hive taking on the Storm Lake Dracozolt. That's Connor versus Logan. Both of those teams in pretty dire need of a win. Want to try to stay out, because also there's benefits to these late season games, because both of these teams, if you're a 5-6 spot, you need to win 2 games to go to playoffs. If you're in the 4 or 3, you only need to win 1 to go to playoffs. So that was how it was designed in that sense. So keep that in mind. These later season games will matter. And that means if you want to have a chance at playoffs, all you need to do is squeak into that 6th spot. So, and also, really, this is misrepresenting where people are, because these tiebreakers, in terms of this, haven't been resolved yet. So technically, Texarkana's here, Alabama's here. But I'll stop rambling. I want to thank everyone for listening. I want to thank Brett for his great work on the document. I also want to thank D24 Designs for, let's see, what logos did they do? This one, this one, this one, as well as this one and this one. And they also do the thumbnails for our YouTube channel. If you like what they did a lot of logos in the league. I can give you the contact information if you want to get that done. If you're going to do a rebrand next season or something, who knows? Also, they did the ABL North and South logos, which I haven't unveiled yet, but those will be coming later this season. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.